Hello and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Billy Barnell, and I am beyond thrilled to have joining me today to discuss their film Annette, Ron and Russell Mael of Sparks. Howdy, guys.
Hi
Hello.
there.
Hi, Billy.
Lovely to meet you guys. So I thought I'd just start off with talking about cinema because really, when it comes to you guys and your music and your careers, cinema is a huge part of it. It goes right back to the start of your careers, right back to the very first albums. And you guys, you identify as film buffs. You reference films and filmmakers in your songs all the time. Like Orson Welles comes up a lot. I know in songs like Rosebud and Occupation and all those great songs of yours. And I guess I wanted to ask you first off, do you guys still have that deep passion for cinema today? Do you go to the cinema a lot? Do you still keep abreast of what's going on in cinema today?
Yeah, we do. It's kind of made us a little bit more lazy as far as going to theaters. We feel guilty about that, but just the streaming now, the positive side of that is that you can see films that maybe wouldn't have even had a theatrical release. So, we really kind of stayed, watching films. I mean, not for any reason other than we just enjoy it, and obviously the passion for film was something that when the Annette project came up, it was just like a dream come true for us because to first of all to be working with a French filmmaker and then to have it being shown at the Cannes Film Festival as the opening film. I mean, that was like, we couldn't have had a better fairy tale story than that.
No, I guess not, because it was a long time in development, wasn't it? I mean, that was what I wanted to ask you about next, really, was because you obviously, Leos Carax was the director, and he's such a formidable filmmaker, and he has such a vision, really, with all of his films. The handful that he's made, and I guess, I know the project there was a long gestation project of obviously you guys developing it yourselves, and then Leos became interested, and what was your? I just wanted to ask what your working process was like with Leos over that time of developing the film and making it.
Yeah, we kind of shared time between us going to Paris where he lives and then him coming to LA where we live. And it was a long kind of pre-production period where, he kind of wanted to explore kind of expanding on some of the story elements that we had in our original version and kind of expanding them in certain ways. And so those discussions went on actually and those meetings for several years after Leos had really, signed on to direct the film. And so, there were scenes that were added that weren't in our original version, like the ending, the abyss was Leos's idea. And so with that idea of the prison scene, he asked us if we could come up with music and then the lyrics to be able to convey that scene that he wanted.
I stood upon a cliff, a deep abyss below. Compelled to look, I tried to fight it off. God knows I tried.
And there were a couple other, the girl from the middle of nowhere, that scene where Marion Cotillard is kind of telling about her upbringing and how she got to be who she is now in her character.
There was a girl from the middle of nowhere, at early flame, a little blunt.
That was, I think, Leos's idea. He wanted to have something that kind of addressed her situation a bit more than we had done in our original version. So there were a couple things like that then we, after he had mentioned about doing that, we then, it's an untidy kind of situation when you're doing a movie musical, because not only when the idea, if it's from the director, whoever comes up to revise some elements, then it's, normally if it's just a non-musical film, then you just adjust it in the screenplay to however, you can best do it. But when you have to do it as a musical, it's not only adjusting what's been written for the dialogue, but the dialogue in our case is incorporated into the music. So then the music has to be revised. And so that's also part of the reason why the process was as lengthy in the pre-production, because it's kind of is an untidy way of working when there's notes are given about certain elements of the story.
We were really fortunate though that Leos was sold on the kind of the basis of what Annette was, that it was a musical that was pretty wall to wall singing, that it was more in kind of in line with like the Umbrellas of Cherbourg as far as being everyday kind of incidents are things that people sing to. It wasn't a thing where there's like 8 songs that people break into song and start dancing in the street and then it goes back to dialogue. And so he was sold on that, and even just the basic story of the thing, it changed, but it didn't change, in a way where it would be unrecognizable. And we were flattered because this was the first English language film that Leos had done, and he speaks kind of impeccable English, his mother's English, and so but just that he had never made a film in English, and so it was really something special to us that this was the film that he chose.
I can imagine so, especially as we know, he only makes a movie every 10 years or so.
Yeah.
I get so I like to talk about the cast of you guys for a little bit, because the cast is quite an extraordinary cast. I mean, it's contained, but it's the talent that's in that cast is extraordinary. I mean, of course, the leads being Adam Driver, Marion Cotillard, and Simon Helberg, and watching the film back again in research for this interview, I was struck by how not only are they're perfectly cast, but in so many different ways. It's like, because there are so many threads in your music, and not just in Annette, but in your whole career, that those actors seem to just be perfectly in place to capture. Like Adam Driver, he's a great actor, and watching Annette was actually what made me realize this guy can do anything. He can do literally anything, it seems.
Yes, why should I activate your ventral medial prefrontal cortex so your 15 facial muscles will contract, so your fucking zygomatic muscle will react, while your epiglottis have closes your larynx clap.
But he's so, one of his great strengths to me is he can depict anger, and being sardonic, and that sort of dry humor, which is at the core of so many of your songs. And there's that dry element, and there's that frustrated element as well to songs. I think of songs off of Big B and off Gratuitous Sax, and all for your career really. And then Marion is also perfectly placed to play the sweet romantic element, the pure element, and even Simon, being the accompanist, that frustrated character. He's so desperately in love, but he's so frustrated. And how many SPARKS songs are like that? And I guess with the casting, were they always yours and Leos's first choices?
Well, to be honest, it was Leos. Leos had suggested all 3 of those actors, but we obviously were thrilled because, initially it was Adam Driver was the first actor that was brought into the project. He was brought in several years before we actually shot the film.
It was even at the time of the HBO series Girls that Leos kind of discovered him.
Wow, really?
Adam came over to our studio, and we met with him pretty early on in the process, and he just wanted to talk about the style of the singing and all, and we were really just so happy because not only we just think he's a great actor, but he was on the same page with us as far as the style of the singing, where we didn't want it to be like Broadway style singing where it's really grand music, the Broadway musical stereotypical singing, where we wanted it to be more naturalistic and just like a guy that, happens to deliver his lines in a, in a melodic way. And so Adam was totally in sync with that. And I think it's more comfortable for him. He's not like a singer, and he's a really good singer, but not in a, a schooled kind of way.
You think I care what you all think of me now? You think I care? You think I care what you wimps think of me now? What's your problem? What's your fucking problem? What's your problem?
So we got along really well in that sort of way. And I think also just both Marion Cotillard and Simon Helberg also, it was, they really did get the kind of the slant that we saw as the style of the singing. And obviously they're all really good actors. And then the question was, but how will it work for them to be able to also sing and act and in the style that we had all hoped for? But they all three of them really, came through exactly what we couldn't have, imagined anybody else doing any of the three roles and doing it better.
And Leos had an extra wrinkle kind of in it where he wanted all the singing to be done live on the set at the time of the shooting. And so that's an extra complication. In a technical way, it really posed challenges for the technicians, and also it probably put extra pressure on the actors. But Leos's feeling was that maybe they would kind of perform in a way that was kind of stronger and more immediate if they actually sang while they were acting, and that was actually used, probably 90% of the time.
Yeah, well, it comes through. It's the singing is so raw, and the way that like so many of those scenes are so emotional, and like the way that Adam and Marion can obviously they're singing their hearts out literally, but they're also acting their hearts out, and being able to balance those. I mean, even just physically, that's a challenge. I know, like Marion was talking about how your breath cuts off if you sort of as a singer, if you get too emotionally if you're outpouring. So it's a hard one.
Oh, with this storm and this sea, I feel scared. Look at me. Comfort me. Hold me tight. Oh, what a terrible, terrible night.
I guess opening it out then a little bit in terms of you guys as storytellers. I mean, because to me, that's what you are through your music. And so Annette obviously is, I guess, the key example in your guys' work, or one of the key examples of you guys having like a narrative approach and a story-driven approach to what you're doing. But as well, Seduction of Ingmar Bergman is another one. It's, I guess, the other key one. But I mean, going all through your work, even right back to the beginning with those early albums and all the way through, you guys, to me, it seems to have taken such an interesting approach to crafting almost like short stories and short films in your songs. And I even and having that approach, I even think about like the structure of an album like Number One in Heaven, which I know is celebrating its anniversary this year. The kind of the birth to death structure of that, from like the opening song to the ending song, tryouts to Number One in Heaven. And I wanted to ask, do you guys think of yourselves as storytellers with what you do and with your music?
Yeah, I think so, because I think our approach to lyrics, it's kind of always been like that. I mean, there's so many songs that I can't make a complete generalization, but just that by and large, the songs are kind of detailed, where a lot of people write songs that are kind of a more general approach to issues. And we like to be really specific and kind of maybe evoking images in people's heads, which through the music, and so I think it differs from a lot of other pop songwriting in being really detailed and specific about things, and even if it doesn't always come across as a story with a beginning and middle and end, there's like kind of something going on within the the song that isn't just floating out big generalities like, love and hate and affection and those kinds of things, that it's kind of demonstrated in a more specific way. And, we've always, if there was never like setting out to do things in one way, but that's always been kind of our approach. I think it kind of maybe was influenced at the very beginning because we were huge fans of the early Who and the early Kinks, and in their earlier songs, they were always like kind of vignettes and things that were plucked out of the real world, but that kind of had a meaning beyond even what they were specifically talking about. And so I think that was an influence on us. And we never are worried about appearing too precious about things. I mean, this is kind of the approach that we do. We can't really do it any other way.
Well, the way you do it is wonderful, as is saying. So going back to Annette, I mean, so the reception of that film was quite amazing, really, because you opened the Cannes Film Festival back in 2021. I remember the film coming out and hearing about it, and Leos won Best Director, and you guys won the César and the Lumiere Awards for Best Music. And I guess, at the film, and it's a unique film. And I guess now that it's been a couple of years since it came out, I mean, what's your what kind of reactions have you guys got to the movie? What memorable reactions have you guys personally got for the movie? Because it's such a unique film.
I mean, it's I mean, we think it's really, it is a really unique film. There's no real kind of comparisons, and I think the people that have sort of gravitated towards it, they see something really unique and something that kind of is real singular in its whole approach and the story and the combination of those actors. So we've gotten really good feedback from it. And I think the Cannes Festival kind of event and everything that surrounded that, and the Césars, and for us it was really special that it was kind of the initial thrust was really from France. And so for us, we'd always been fans of French cinema. So to be part of like the Cannes Film Festival and to have the reception that it had, and then to win César Awards when we're Americans and all, it's really bizarre, but bizarre in a really good way. So we're just, we're excited because it's pretty unique situation. Something is, even like a César Award for guys that aren't from France, and so, so we have really good memories about the initial period, and it's the kind of film too that I think is going to be re-examined. I think that's the one really great thing about films, is that they're not, they kind of obviously live forever, and so people can reassess and rediscover the film. I think there's still an audience out there that maybe hasn't even seen it yet, and at some point will discover it, and and hopefully appreciate what it stands for.
It was divisive in some ways. It wasn't to everybody's taste, but the people that did like it really liked it passionately, and that's kind of all that you can hope for. I mean, we've never been, well, seldom. I mean, once or twice we've been lucked into certain situations where something we've done has been more universal. But in general, what we do, it strikes a certain group of people in a really deep way, but other people just aren't a part of that, process. And so that's just the way it is.
So may we start. So may we start. It's time to start. Time to start. So
we're really proud though that the film was kind of accepted. I mean, the two places where it kind of had the most acceptance were both France and Japan, and Japan was they tend, stereotyping, but they tend to like French things in general, but it reached people that were even the English language wasn't the first language, but it was reaching them in a really emotional way. And so, we were doing Q&As in Japanese theaters, and it was really an exceptional thing that people that were real cinema buffs there really grabbed a hold of that, of the film. And we don't have any regrets at all, about it. And the time it took to get the film made, part of that was that that cast was able to be assembled, because that's such a key part of what Annette is. And
also Leos's just passion for kind of 9 years of development to focus, singularly on this project. He didn't have other projects. A lot of directors have, a lot of things in their arsenal of projects, but Leos had this one film. And so to his credit too, he kind of focused so much on it, which was great to have that kind of, that's the only way you can get something made like that, is to have that kind of passion from the team and the director and producers. So that really worked to our advantage.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm so intrigued and excited to show this to an audience of students who have probably no idea what they're going to be in for, because there's so much joy in presenting something that is so interesting and so ultra to I guess like people my age and younger, who probably don't have a reference point for it. So it's very exciting for that prospect. Yeah. So opening it out again to the, I wanted to ask you guys about the last year, really, because I think it's fair to say, from my perspective anyway, that it's been quite a tumultuous, huge year for you guys. I mean, the Latte tour for your latest album, "The Girl Is Crying in a Latte," which I loved. The tour for that was huge for you guys. I mean, you were playing so many massive venues like the Hollywood Bowl and the Albert Hall. I mean, I came along and saw you at the Albert Hall, and it was a fantastic night. I mean, just as a fan, and it felt like the culmination of all the momentum of things like Annette, Edgar Wright's Sparks Rivers documentary, which I also love, and the album, of course, and being a fan in the audience, seeing you guys on stage and receiving all this love and all this passion, it was quite profound. It was very heartening to me as a fan, and I can only imagine what it must be like for you guys. And I guess that's just what I wanted to ask was, what was it like for you guys, especially now it's been a few months in hindsight now,
Yeah, I mean, it was as moving for us as it sounds like it was for places like the Royal Albert Hall, for us, especially as Americans, it's iconic, and it symbolizes something. And when we were growing up, you hear about groups playing there and songs that reference the Royal Albert Hall and all, day in the life, and then so to one day, because we were such Anglophiles, then to one day be actually playing there and doing 2 shows and all. And it was really special to see, and also to see how the effect of Annette and the effect of Edgar Wright's documentary and the latest album kind of all coming together at the same time, and to see how that kind of translated to being able to play bigger places like Albert Hall and the Hollywood Bowl here in LA. And we just, the end of the tour, we played the Sydney Opera House as well, which is another just iconic venue, which meant a lot to us to be able to play now at this point. So so all that stuff was really, the tour was, really special. And for us too, it also is something that we feel that us doing film work, it isn't like it's a separate thing from Sparks. It's all kind of one and the same for us. And so the film work, we think, really also helps Sparks. And then Sparks people also hopefully the other way, gravitate towards the films that we're doing too. So we consider it all just kind of one and the same.
Mm. Yeah, well, I mean, as I say, being in the audience for those shows and seeing you guys getting all this love was amazing. I mean, I even just running into some of the fans at the shows who were in the documentary. It was so strange and surreal. It was wonderful. I guess then, so having had the careers you guys have had, the extraordinary careers over 50 years, and gone through all that you've gone through and produced so much amazing work and music, what advice would you give to someone starting out now who wanted to be, say, work in music or work in film, or any of those creative fields? What advice would you give?
Well, I mean, it takes a lot of stamina and kind of self-belief. I think it's actually harder now because when we started off, people, just speaking about records, that at record companies, they would stick by you if they just thought you were cool for a few albums, and now it's like make it quick or else you're in trouble. So I think in that sense it's more difficult. But I think you just have to kind of always assume that you're right in what you're doing, and when we first started working in the film area, we had kind of tinkered a little bit with soundtracks, but we realized that our strength is really more in merging vocals with music within a cinematic context. And so kind of soundtracks were something that we really have much less interest in. And so, but also we also felt it was kind of presumptuous of us to be saying that we could write a narrative piece that was 2 hours long. And so we just kind of did it, and it kind of worked out, and there were a few people accepting of it. And so you just kind of have to, dive in, and hope that you find the right people. It's really hard to kind of sell what you're doing to other people, but if you're lucky enough and somebody discovers it and it's what they're kind of looking for, that's the position we've been fortunate enough to be in for a lot of the time, both with the Sparks music and also with film. So I mean, it's difficult to make career suggestions because we kind of don't even think, and we don't even plan anything. Things just happen, and for us to be here at this point, so many years after starting off, it's kind of incredibly surreal, but it also is, we want to see how far we can kind of continue to push things, both from the Sparks standpoint, but also, we're working on a new movie musical now, and it's moving forward. You never know until it's actually done, but it's looking good, and we're very eager for this project to stand beside Annette.
There was an interview I just saw recently with Tom Hanks, and it was in a way it was kind of depressing because it's coming from Tom Hanks, and he said that it's a miracle that any movie gets made, and it's kind of that's depressing on one hand, and especially coming from somebody that seems like he can make anything he wants to make, and so we don't take it for granted. I mean, we're in one way, you're kind of happy to hear that it's always that way. With Annette, it was, there were a lot of issues just, to get producers involved. Even once we had Leos Carax, there's always a battle, and there's a battle with studios. But if you just, passionate about the project, passionate about what you do, hopefully it will rise above all the nonsense that kind of surrounds surrounds making a movie. So
Mm.
just hang in.
Hang in there. Wonderful, guys. Well, I'm aware that our 30 minutes are up. I mean, I could keep talking to you guys all day. Honestly, I could ask you umpteen questions about Annette and all of your albums. To be honest, I mean, I love them all. And but I know that we're out of time. But I guess if I can fit in one 10-second question.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, what happened? The lights have gone off. Hold on. Oh my God. Okay. Let me just turn this up. Okay, it's okay. The lights have just gone off. I don't know why. Ron, are there any plans to bring back the Lyrically Speaking videos?
I'm sorry, what
there
was
any-
that?
Are there any plans to bring back the Lyrically Speaking videos that you used to do?
The
The Lyrically Speaking, the ones where you read the
oh,
lyrics.
those, yeah. Well, well, I mean, just to explain that, we during the pandemic, you know, it was difficult for every band, but for us as well, just to be able to present ourselves to people in a live context. And so I did once a week, I would do a dramatic recitation of one of our songs. So I think there were like 52 of them for a year. And then I thought maybe I was overstaying my welcome. Let's get funky. You know, I'd like to do that again. I mean, I always felt in the past that just emphasizing only the lyrics was not really what we were setting out to do, because we always felt that the music and the lyrics are kind of one. But I could see the impact of that, and I really enjoyed doing it as well as an amateur thespian.
Well, it was there was just something glorious about you, particularly say, "Put your fucking iPhone down and listen to me," was particularly glorious.
Put your fucking iPhone down and listen to me. Put your fucking iPhone down and listen to me. Listen to me.
If you ever decide to come back with those, I mean, so many songs off of Latte would be amazing just to hear the lyrics. But anyway, that's just a fan request. Anyway,
okay.
Yes.
Next pandemic, it'll be.
I don't want to cross my fingers for that, but that would be wonderful. Okay, guys. Well, like I said, I've kept you a little bit longer, so sorry about that. But thank you so much. And I don't know. They've obviously the lights, the electricity's gone, so I don't know what's going on. But again, thank you so much for your time, guys. As a fan, this was a bit of a dream come true for me. So and I look forward to whatever you guys do next. I'm there.
Great.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot. Really good speaking with you.
Good talking with you.
Thanks, guys. Okay. Have a good
Take
rest
care.
of your day. Take
You
care.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.